Welcome, everyone. Really excited today. We've got two guys who know about almost everything there is to know about the industry. You're really not going to find a better panel and a better set of guests to try to, I guess, suss out what's happening in the markets today. Also, a pretty unique partnership, and it's just a really exciting time for everyone involved. Before we get into the specifics here, let's go ahead and make sure we name the panel. That, of course, would be Johann Eid of Chainlink. Johann, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thank you.
And of course, we have Stefan Rust from Truflation.com.
Excited to be here with Johann. I think I'm super happy about the relationship that we've had. Johann has been a big champion at Chainlink, supporting Truflation and the really genesis of the vision and the really early ideas. Yes, Johann, so great to have you here. And you're officially the Chief Business Officer at Chainlink. What does that mean, and what's your day? What do your days look like as the Chief Business Officer?
Yeah, sure. So I actually joined Chainlink around 5 years ago, and I like to say my role hasn't really changed. It's more the scale that has changed. So when I started working at Chainlink, my whole goal was, how do we actually build an ecosystem we can partner with, and with this ecosystem, we can build the future of this space, right? So it was, how do we provide the tools, pick and shovels kind of, for the builders, the pioneers, to build the future of the space. Now, that was my role 5 years ago. It's still my role. Just 5 years ago, the crypto ecosystem was almost inexistent. It was mainly white papers and ideas thrown during meetups. And today, the ecosystem is thousands of applications, billions of dollars, trillions in volume. And everyone knows about crypto, from governments to banks, building ecosystems, trying to make this space better, trying to build the space, working with awesome partners like you guys over at Truflation, and doing this so we can just bring a better future for tomorrow.
That's why I think, hit it off, right? I mean, I really feel we had a similar mission where, how can we build new systems, that replace all of these legacy systems that have been around for a lot of years, and then make money and data more fluid across different types and environments, especially in an age where internet is pervasive, mobile phones are a constant, a journey, on a constant journey with us everywhere we go, all the time. So yeah.
Exactly. And look, I think we started discussing a few years ago now, right? And
yeah.
It was when you told me about Truflation, because the main thing with the system we live in today is that it has tons of opportunities, right? Because the technology we have is nothing like we ever had before, right?
Yeah.
And the main thing you need to do with this technology is actually orient people towards good things for society. And the way to do this is to show them key data in many cases. And the data I think Truflation provides has been eye-opener for many people around what's the reality behind, in this case, your money supply, or the value of your money, right? So we have opportunities. These opportunities come from the tech we've built over the years. And if we're able, together, Chainlink, Truflation, the other projects in the ecosystem, to build things that actually bring our world, right, and the ecosystem we build closer towards what they should focus on, closer towards real money, real finance, real transparent, verifiable systems, then I think it's extremely worthwhile, not only for us, but also for the future, literally, of humanity.
It really is kind of a different business model, in that with Chainlink and their build program, it seems like you were way ahead in trying to get collegiality, trying to find, the hustlers out there, the guys that would work hard, and the teams that would build, that you could actually work with. What's the process like? Because we're proud members of the build program, and it really has been a boon for us. But do people usually approach you and say, hey, can we be a part of that? Or are you guys out forward looking and finding these projects?
It depends. It's a bit of both. Now, we've been in the space for a while, and we know how difficult it is to build in the space, right? So there are three things in this space which are different from any other space and that you need to succeed. The first one is it's literally hard to build on a technical side. You need data, you need oracles, you need cross-chain, you need automation, you need so many things, which are built out in Web 2, which still are being built out in Web 3, right? And we provide a lot of this tech for our partners where they don't need to recreate the wheel. If they need data on chain, they use something like data feeds. If they need cross-chain, they use something like CCIP, right? So that's one value unlock we do with all of our partners on Build. A second and third one are really crypto. Like there you find nowhere else, I think, in tech. The one is ecosystem. How do I build an ecosystem of dApps who are globally accessing and working with my own dApp, right? So how do I work with partners, etc., to literally make each other stronger? And I think that's one big unlock with Build, which is we've built a community of builders and visionaries and pioneers who actually end up working and collaborating with each other. And what you have here in Build, and Stefan, I'd be really keen to hear from you on these synergies after, it kind of reminds me of the early days of Ethereum, where you would basically put 50 early devs working on DeFi, working on dApps in like 2018 in a room and all brainstorming with each other and all thinking, how do we make this space real? How do we actually build stuff that unlocks value for people? That's kind of what you have with the Build program today. It's getting builders who actually want to create things for the ecosystem and who brainstorm with each other and who come up with ideas together. And this kind of went away for a while in the space, I think. Like we had it's not everywhere you find this community aspect anymore because everything has gotten so big and there is so much noise, etc. So that's the second thing. And the third thing, which we like to foster in Build, is community. Community is what makes this space truly unique. This space is nothing without community, just because all the odds are against us, right? Like if you look at the history of this space, it's literally us against the world. And now it doesn't seem like it, but it's been that way and it's still that way. And the reason we're able to succeed is because us is a global community of people who really believe in the tech, who really believe in the ecosystem, and who get together to build things that are better. And that's what I think we have with the Chainlink community, and that's what I think we have with the Build community. And having the Truflation community and the Chainlink community come together and become more powerful because of it, I think that's actually the biggest value add we unlock. We combine these communities and they start working together and they become stronger because of it. And
That's
if you think that, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, perfect segue into the question you already asked it of Stefan, and that's how does Truflation leverage Build? How is Truflation? What is being part of the Build program meant to the growth and the success of Truflation, Stefan?
Yeah, so from my perspective, and before I go into that, right? I mean, Truflation's been very lucky and fortunate to be one of the first Build members. I think we are actually the first Build member, and we're very fortunate to see the growth of this community. And I think a lot of investors and everybody asks you, what's your moat, right? Where's your moat? How do you defend yourself? And one of the things I've been truly impressed by is the scale, right? I mean, you brought it up earlier, Johann, right? Just sort of really how your role hasn't really changed. It's just scaled up, right? So it's all of a sudden become bigger. And the vision around quadrillions moving onto the blockchain, how, sort of, and your role, you've played you're an instrumental role at Chainlink in terms of helping bring that quadrillions onto the blockchain, right? And unlocking a huge potential, which all of us as Build members are, can I don't want to say profit out of it, but can participate in the ecosystem of those quadrillions coming onto the blockchain. But I think just what I'm always intrigued by is how do individuals get into blockchain? What got you as Johann into crypto and then to Chainlink? What were you doing before? Why were you intrigued about crypto and blockchain? And then what got you into it?
That's a great that's a great question. So, I mean, if we go back in time, right? I think, and probably we share a similar story here in some regards. Bitcoin was the first thing. It wasn't Ethereum. It wasn't smart contract. It was the promise of verifiable money. It was basically, I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of crazy that people spend their whole lives working for money and spend their whole energy, and they don't even most of the time know how money works, right? Or what is money? How does it exist? How does it come into circulation? Who increases it? Who decreases it? And these questions basically brought me down a huge rabbit hole. And this rabbit hole made me find Bitcoin, which I'm extremely happy about back in the day. And once you understand, I think, the value of currency, right? Like what is currency? What is money? And you understand that if people are going to spend their whole lives at chasing something, this thing better be solid and transparent and verifiable, right? That's an obvious logical observation. Then you actually want this thing to succeed. And to me, the way to make any money succeed is to have things built on top. And that brought me onto Ethereum. And Ethereum brought me onto Chainlink because smart contracts without data, without cross-chain, without anything like that, don't exist. They don't serve any purpose, right? So that's really my whole journey here. I think, and I think actually, if you go back in time, Stefan, right? The amount of folks who stayed throughout the years, throughout the last 7, 8, 10 years, were the people who were convinced, right? Who actually saw, wow, there is really a huge need for that stuff. Like what we're working on is literally gonna change humanity and the way people spend their lives in the future.
So it was really a sense of purpose, right? And I think, and then that sort of leads me back to, and I think that's really why you're so passionate. And I think that's why sort of working with Chainlink, they share the passion in trying to change the world and tirelessly continue to hustle, to pound the pavement, to keep working at achieving this momentous task of transforming the financial and building finance for future, right? And so that's really why that's what I like about Build, and that's what really attracted Truflation to Chainlink. And I think the education Chainlink invests in, not only educating, by providing the tools and the necessary support and with the community, but also educating the traditional systems and building a bit of an umbrella around the importance of blockchain as it relates to data, has allowed us, in a separate tangent, to go and educate the market around what is inflation. What does debasement of money mean? What does what is the rise in cost of living? How does that impact you? Where does that come from? And I think since we started and we went out on this journey with Truflation together with Chainlink, the market today has come to the realization that inflation matters. And it's the #1 topic in the US elections and even in Europe, in the UK. Everybody's talking about inflation. And I think largely, I do give myself and Truflation and Chainlink credit around helping educate the market on what is inflation, how does that mean, and what does that mean to you, and how does that impact us in our day-to-day lives?
Yeah, you're completely correct here. I think if you actually go back 10 years in time and you ask someone about inflation, they will have no clue what inflation is. They will ask you what? Debasement of currency. My currency is $1 is worth $1, right? That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's exactly what you and us and all the pioneers in the space are doing, it's actually bringing people to the truth on how the world actually works and how to make this world better. And that type of contribution alone, just telling people all over the world and teaching them, hey, that's how the money supply works, right? The money is the stuff you're working day in and day out in order to get. That's how it actually works. That's how inflation works. That's how debasement of currency works. I think this type of work is a foundation you need to then actually start changing things, because you cannot change something if you don't see what it is. If you don't know what the problem is, how are you going to change it, right? So I think this education, which we do together, which builds partners like Truflation and all of this ecosystem is doing, that type of thing is laying the groundwork towards a more verifiable world, financial system, money system. And that's again, like, invaluable. Like, you cannot value this type of work. It's higher than value even.
And I think I mean, in addition to the community and the other build partners within Chainlink, right? I think what we've helped also, I mean, Chainlink has been a big partner in helping us identify commercial opportunities around inflation. When we were raising money, we were constantly being bombarded. Where do you make? Why do I care about inflation? I already get inflation. The government tells me about inflation. Why do I need to know true inflation? And how are you going to make money, right? And obviously, at the beginning, you don't always know your source of income and how you generate revenue. But I think working together with Chainlink, there were a couple of things that really stood out. One is the importance of indexes. To me, that was a big eye opener, and that came really out of the relationship with Chainlink in terms of what is the importance of index and what does that mean and how does that impact the financial markets. And so the second element was really the technologies and the tools to help convert and using the indexes that we have managed to build, and in particular, the inflation index, right? And so that's been a really interesting journey and ability to have the smarts, the relationship, but also some of the underlying technologies that help enable that.
So getting from the conversation is that you guys are really emphasizing community. You're emphasizing sort of the synergy between all the different projects. What I think, because Chainlink can kind of sit back and let its minions, its ecosystem kind of do the work, and maybe take credit for it or whatever. What I find with Chainlink is that they actually are iterating on their side of things. So they're sort of the leader that you want. It's sort of the ideal partner. So not only do they incubate you, help you, assist you, and that community is unbelievable. Every time we put something out socially, I mean, we don't even have to, there's not even a formal process. These guys just take it on and boost it. They find different ways to talk about it. But I think sort of in the background, what a lot of people miss about what's so great with working with Chainlink is that they're also iterating. They're also improving the space itself. And that would bring us, of course, to CCIP, the cross-chain interoperability protocol. Where are you on that side, Johann? How's CCIP going? I guess maybe, I'm sure most of the people listening to this probably know what it is, but in case they don't, what pain points is it trying to solve? That sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, thank you for all these words. And I just want to reemphasize, at the end of the day, crypto is only what we make it to be, right? Because it's an ecosystem that's only growing. And the only way we can make this succeed is by finding partners to build this future, right? And I think what you have with Truflation is pioneers working with us to create a better reality, right? And the philosophy we have and kind of the future, the vision do align. And that's why I think we make such good partners. It's because at the end of the day, the future we have for the space is a similar one. It's truth over anything else. How do we create truth, right? That's what crypto is about. When you use a smart contract, when you put the right inflation data through Truflation, like anything you do, it's about creating the truth people need to actually make their lives better. Now, going back to CCIP, Chainlink, I kind of think of us as problem solvers on unlocking the different stages of the space. So when we started working on price feeds, we unlocked DeFi, right? Because if you have a token and you give value to a token through price feeds, you unlock financialization of this token. Now you can loan it, you can borrow it, you can have options, derivatives, etc. That's one blocker we solved back in the day. Today, the space has another blocker. It's silos. You have hundreds of chains. Probably we're looking at a future with thousands of chains. And this multi-chain ecosystem is fully siloed. And if you dig a bit deeper here, you actually see two different types of silos. You see public chains, which are not talking to each other. But even worse, you see private chains, which are also siloed from the rest of the ecosystem. And a lot of these private chains are going to be government chains, bank chains, enterprise chains. So they're going to be literally the future of this space, right? Now, what CCIP is about is connecting public, private chains together into one single ecosystem. How do I bridge bank, government, enterprise, chains, and systems over to the crypto space we've created? And if you look at the space we've created today, it's only a POC, basically, right? It has all the right primitives, but it's 10 billion bucks, like 50, 100 billion bucks. It's a small space. How do we make this space better, bigger, and unlock the next stage of evolution? To us, this unlock is CCIP, because now you can literally link the POC we've been building over the last years over to the future of the space, which is mass adoption, which is tokenized assets coming from private permission chains onto the space of today. So that's what CCIP is about. CCIP is a cross-chain protocol, but behind this cross-chain protocol is the next unlock for the space to go from billions to trillions, and to, as Stefan was saying earlier, quadrillions.
And it leads me to the question for Stefan is, I mean, if it's not obvious, what motivated Truflation to integrate CCIP across like Arbitrum-based Ethereum mainnets for cross-chain interoperability? I think the question kind of answers itself, but what motivated you guys, Truflation, to start using CCIP?
So there were a couple of elements that were really that stood out. I mean, I think connecting multiple chains together. So how do we get our data, the indexes, how do we make those available to all of the different chains that are out there and all the different participants on the respective chains? So automatically, thanks to CCIP, the distribution is far greater, right? So you get a much broader reach. But I think secondly, in the financial instrumentization associated, or the financial engineering associated with these indexes and building out financial products associated with those, to me, the way I look at CCIP, it's a centralized treasury that allows us to then be able to reach out and optimize the distribution and connections and liquidity across multiple different chains. So I don't need to have multiple different treasuries on all the chains or liquidity pools or whatever you want to call them. I can actually have them supported on CCIP. Through CCIP, I can support multiple different chains. I still need to have smart contracts on each of the chains. I still need to be able to build out access to those and be able to support those. However, from a centralized access perspective, it's much it's easier to manage and maintain.
One of the things that Johann was saying, the space kind of naturally silos itself, and for good or worse or bad. But right away, when Stefan, you were talking about this treasury, which I think is a brilliant insight, the metaphor, it's more than a metaphor. It actually is, but right away, security comes up. It starts just ringing in your head because of all the issues we've had previously that are very, very, very. Everybody knows about it. The first thing when people talk about crypto, when you want to get serious people involved, is they want to know the security side of things. And I know that Johann is kind of famous for being security forward and making sure that that is the priority. Johann, can you kind of go into that a little bit about your fanaticism with regard to security?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very simple. if you build on-chain, if you build on smart contracts, whatever is going to trigger a smart contract should be as secure as a smart contract itself, right? It's basic end-to-end architecture. I want my system to be end-to-end reliable and secure. And because of this, we always work with decentralization in mind, because the systems we rely on today, blockchains, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're built around decentralization. They're built around global network of nodes coming to consensus on some state, right? That's the same thing with data. That's the same thing with CCIP. What I like to say is decentralization is slower, obviously. It's not as easy to coordinate hundreds, tens of nodes than coordinating only one, but it's the long-term approach that matters, right? So you have two types of, I like to view it that way. Like when you look at the space, you already have two types of ways of building. You have the long-term one, and the long-term one is very much compliant with crypto ethos. It's decentralized, it's secure, end-to-end reliable. And then you have the short-term one. The short-term one optimizes on fast. It needs to go fast. I need to launch something in 1 or 2 weeks because my investors are waiting for it and I cannot delay, or whatever as a reason, right? Now, the short-term approach is actually what triggered tens of billions of dollars of hacks within the space. That's how you should think of it. If you're going to work on this space and if you're going to work on building the future within crypto, you need to have a long-term approach. If you don't, well, I mean, it's a dangerous ecosystem, right? Everything you do has consequences. That's the beauty, but it's also the risk. So you should build using decentralization in mind. And I think that's actually another synergy point we have with Truflation, we have within Build and Chainlink folks. It's we believe in long-term approach. We believe in secure approach, in building, not to launch fast, but to launch securely in the first place. And then if you launch fast, that's good, but it's not the main point. Okay, launching a system that's going to stay around for the next 100, 200, 500 years, that's actually much more valuable than anything else. So yeah, I think if I was to summarize this decentralization security ethos, that would be the way to do it. The only way to build within this space is to build that way, because you want the system to be end-to-end reliable. You don't want an insecure input triggering a secure smart contract. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. Yeah.
It's crazy how aligned you guys are. Yesterday, maybe it was 2 days ago, Stefan was doing a live stream, and his first sort of, there are a lot of questions about Truflation and where it's headed and so on. And Stefan just kind of stopped all the noise, and he said, look, we're not here to jump in, boost bags and take off. So we're here for the long term. So if you're messing around, if you're jumping in, jumping out, maybe this is not the place for you. He was insistent that Truflation's building for the long term, and maybe I should stop talking right now and let Stefan explain that. What do you mean when I guess Johann put it perfectly, that he wants to stay around and wants things to build a sense of permanence. How important is that for Truflation to have a partner that thinks like that?
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, crypto is it blends a number of different aspects, right? It blends technology, it blends finance, and it blends those two assets really together. And then it exposes, thanks to the internet, a direct to customer business, right, or industry. And the way I look at it is in that industry, there are builders, there are people that just want to make some quick money, right? And so in that world, those are sort of on the entrepreneurial side. And I think, what the Build program has done is helped filter out the builders in the ecosystem, number one, amongst entrepreneurs. So that's been super helpful. And I think what we're looking to do is we're builders. And in the, opportunity that Truflation or Chainlink represent is long-term development of a project. If that appeals to you, and you want to see change in the ecosystem, you want to participate in the utility of these protocols in a secure, sustainable, long-term fashion, and build deeper relationships that are going to be an incremental and not incremental, instrumental part of the fabric of what you're building, then you need to take a long-term approach, and you need to, stick around. You need to help out. You need to contribute. You need to participate. And to me, I think that's the difference that we are, and we get mark to market immediately, right? If people don't like what you're doing, you feel it, and the traders will leave if you're not on the narrative. But the people that are building, the people that are consistently sticking to it, are the ones that are going to help develop and see you prosper and hope and work with you to make it successful. But bear in mind, there's also a lot of risk in this industry, right? Because you're blending so many elements together. How do you manage that risk? How do you, you're a part of that journey, and so you are helping solve that. And I think it's always good to know that you're not the only one out there that's struggling, that's going through a hard times, that's waiting for a customer to give you a green light, that's waiting to get the proof of concept across the line, that's waiting for a security audit to come through. That all takes time, and these are all components that need to fit together and come together, align around a given timeline. And that's always sometimes challenging, and it's good to know that you're not only the only one out there fighting the tidal waves.
Yeah, just to get back on that, because that's my favorite topic, actually. I think it's so critical. Like, we live also in a world where people are used to instant recognition, instant everything, right? The long-term approach is not favored by many. And our space is so full of noise and so full of opportunities. Oh, here is a new one, here is a new one, a new narrative, right? Very, very hard to keep a long-term vision, a long-term approach. But if you think about it, right, anything meaningful is built with a long-term vision, a long-term view, long-term commitment. I have a trajectory. I don't get off every time there is something new. I actually stick to this thing. It's like the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. That's a real one, right? I mean, it basically takes time, it takes commitment. And if we want to build something that's going to literally change the world, you want to use foundations, because that's what we are at the end of the day, right? We're building foundations. And these foundations, you want them made out of marble. You don't want them made out of clay. You don't want them made out of something that collapses in 2 years. You want them made out of something that sticks around for the next 500,000 years, right? I mean, that's literally what we're trying to achieve here.
And I think just on that point, Johann, right? It's so accurate, right? If you think today everybody looks at NVIDIA and Tesla and SpaceX, oh my God, these are amazing companies. But bear in mind, NVIDIA was founded in 1993. Tesla was founded in 2001 or 2 or something, right? So these companies have been around for long times, 20, 30 years, and they've been building consistently, tenaciously, and against all odds at many times to get to where they needed to, despite the narratives, the quick flips and flops in economic situations, and the desires of certain investors that would like it to go one way versus the other way.
We'll end with, just completely ignoring what you both just said. What's the new thing out at Chainlink? What do you got for me? Come on, y'all.
So the new big narrative is actually okay.
What's the shiny thing? No, now I'm speaking here. There's method to my madness. I'm speaking here of RWAs, and I think you guys have really embraced that concept. And I kind of want to push, as we end here, give some alpha to people who are listening, because I think that's sort of the new hot thing. And you guys have really embraced it, and Truflation has a lot to say about it. So let's go with you.
Awesome.
And what's Chainlink think about that asset class maybe, and the future of it?
Yeah, I think RWAs are the next big unlock for the space. Just like DeFi was an unlock in its day, RWAs are actually a much more important unlock, because we're now at a point where I think we've built a lot of the primitives the space needs to exist. We've built decentralized finance, we have decentralized insurance, we have token transfer. Like we've basically been able to reinvent so many key things. And now it's about taking all of this primitive the space has built and just making them bigger. It's like we're taking a POC into prod. That's what RWAs are for the space. So RWAs for us are about how can we make it as efficient and as secure as possible for institutions, for banks, for new players to get into the space. And that's how we leverage the tech we've built over the years. That's why CCIP is critical, because any RWA will need to go not on one chain, but on every single chain that's out there. Because once I have my RWA on chain, I will want to price it through NAV, through price feeds, etc. And once I have my RWA, I also want to make sure it's tokenizing something. There is actually something off-chain backing it that's done through proof of reserves, right? So for us, RWAs are really the next big unlock. It's gonna take this whole POC we built over the last years over to frauds, over to trillions, quadrillions of dollars. And the way we're positioning ourselves is, how do we make this actually happen? How do we provide the tech to make it happen? How do we provide the partners, that Truflation, where we work with each other to onboard these folks? So that's my stance, and I think should be the space's stance on RWAs.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think I think where we're in a nice spot is that bridge between TradFi and DeFi. And DeFi with its new technology, with the ability to provide efficiently execution around transfers, trades, products, tokenomics, etc. And on the TradFi side, where you have a lot of inherent learnings around what works, all the financial products that have been created on legacy systems. So now we can build and bridge those across. I think at Truflation believe that indexes are an important element to set benchmarks, but also to enable the discovery of underlyings inside that benchmark and that threshold. That can be benchmarked from an investment standpoint. I buy an index and I hold that, and boom, underlying, it performs accordingly. And I can either outperform against that or underperform if needed. But I think the way RWA is going to grow really fast is the formation of solutions that are going to be synthetic. And those are going to move into the DeFi world and have TradFi engage in these products that they understand and know in a synthetic form on DeFi exchanges. Why? Because they are faster to trade. They trade 24/7. Everybody can participate in it. And it's also a lot more financially lucrative early on to build up an interesting exposure in new means that execute T+0, right? And things like that. So that's where we see RWA achieving rapid adoption as the legacy world catches up and starts to, tokenize or figure out how to take land registries and put that onto the tokens, right? How do we have a synthetic equivalent of that in the DeFi world that shows the way and the path forward and creates that path to highlight the opportunity that anybody can participate in?
Yeah, from the build community to CCIP to RWAs, it's a really exciting time, I think, for everybody in the space. And we are honored to have Chainlink there helping us and providing the guidance and the really the heft to get us through. A lot of people are very impressed that we're backed by Chainlink, so we appreciate all that they do. In the meantime, where Johann, can people find your work, kind of keep up with what you're doing, all things Chainlink?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first, let me extend also that it's an honor for us to work with pioneers like you guys, right? So the sentiment is fully reciprocal. And again, crypto is literally us against the world. And I think if us wants to stand a chance to reimagine things and build a better future, then we have to work together and we have to work with pioneers to build these foundations. Now, as far as how to keep up with what we're doing, we have a Twitter account, we have our website, we have all of our kind of build announcements and features of the build program on there as well. So that would be the best place to keep up. Yeah.
Nice. And same for you, Stefan. How do people keep up with your work and all things Truflation?
Yeah, follow us on Truflation on Twitter, Discord, and sign up to our newsletter on our website. And if you haven't done the inflation calculator for your personal inflation, go to truflation.com/calculator and then try to do and see how inflation is impacting you personally. But yeah, otherwise follow me on Twitter, srust99. I think we try and be as transparent as we possibly can. And yeah, like with working with Chainlink and building out our communities, jointly and individually as well. And ultimately that helps grow the ecosystem. I think the big thing that the blockchain provides is highlights is the importance of an ecosystem. And yeah, really happy to be a part of, the Chainlink ecosystem, in this journey.
Gentlemen, it was a pleasure. Hopefully we do this again soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.